Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight Podcast, where every once in a while, after clowning on a movie that we disliked, like Christmas Carol, somebody throws that story back in our face with a fresh twist, potentially. An argument could be made, and just simply delights us. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan. How are we feeling today?
I'm feeling like I can't have beef lo mein again today because I had it yesterday, and I can't have the same thing
You
2
can't
days in a
double
row.
up.
I can't
Yeah,
double
you
up.
can't do it. I'm feeling sad that I am missing the Republican debate tonight, where I would have got to watch 8 people all say, "Where's Poochie?"
Oh, I also have to say R.I.P. Terry Funk.
Yeah, Terry Funk did die. R.I.P. to a real one who kicked the shit out of everybody in the Swayze movie Roadhouse.
Yes. Is he the guy who gets his arm broken so bad that the bone comes out?
Oh God, I do not remember, but like he's the
All right,
guy.
we gotta watch Roadhouse.
We
Yeah, we have to watch
Roadhouse. I
Roadhouse.
fucking love Roadhouse.
I watched
Best
Roadhouse like
Swayze.
last week,
Hell
so
yeah.
that like I watch, like Ryan, I feel like just watches a lot of movies. I watch a lot of very specific movies, and a lot of them involve Swayze.
I
What
don't
else?
blame you.
You
what
and my
else?
mom both, dude.
Well, I mean,
My
look
mom
at
fucking
him.
loved Swayze.
I'm looking up to see what else Terry Funk was in that wasn't wrestling.
While you're looking at that, listeners, we are here today to discuss a movie called Bringing Out the Dead, a 1999 film. It's rated R and clocks in at 2 hours and 1 minute and uses every second of that in
Yeah,
ways that I enjoyed.
I do not begrudge that running time. Also, this
Not at
is Martin Scorsese's last film he released in the 20th century.
There you go.
A good one to go out on.
Absolutely.
So, just as a quick aside of this Terry Funk talk, he was he was also in The Ringer, the movie that has not aged very well with Johnny Knoxville.
Oh shit! I thought that's the one you were fucking talking about.
But he was also in Friday Night Lights.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He was in an episode of Swamp Thing.
Wait, like the original Swamp Thing, the
No,
one
the 90s.
that's the original.
Oh,
Swamp
that's the
Thing
original. I thought there was
TV
one
series.
Oh, I thought it was one of the 70s. I'm sorry.
No, the 70s was the 2 Wes Craven movies, but I think those might have been like late 70s, early 80s.
Okay. He was in an episode of Quantum Leap.
Oh fuck yeah, I love Quantum Leap.
I knew you did. Something I find funny, he was in an episode of Thunder in Paradise, which was a Hulk Hogan television show that was fucking terrible.
Wait, like a fiction show or a reality show?
No, like a fiction show. Like he played an ex-Navy SEAL and they had this boat they called Thunder.
Oh.
And they were like mercenaries.
So was Hogan just trying to do the A-Team?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Him and Chris Lemon, who's, by the way,
Weird.
his father was Jack Lemmon. This show killed his career.
Are you saying that his career was a lemon?
Yes, I am. And most recently, because I watched him like a year ago, he was on an episode of Dark Side of the Ring talking about Onita and Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, which Ryan might enjoy because it was absurd.
Yeah, I might have to check that out.
If you like a match ending when someone is thrown into a pool of piranhas,
yes,
like
I do. Oh my god,
What?
yes, 100%. How did you know?
They did some insane shit. But anyway, we're not talking about Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, where you can watch a wrestling ring actually explode. We're here to talk about Bringing Out the Dead.
Okay, but why aren't we talking about the other thing too?
That's a fair question. All right, so let's hop into housekeeping here because this is a hefty one, not just in not quantity but quality. So
there's a lot of alumnus here, and there is a lot of the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme.
Yeah,
ton of it.
A fair amount of that. First up, director. This is a Martin Scorsese flick. You might have known he's put out a couple of small indie films like Taxi Driver.
Oh, I thought you would
Goodfellas.
actually name some of his smaller indie films like Boxcar Bertha, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Mean Streets.
I love
The
Mean
Irishman.
This is so good.
Casino. Gangs
Fucking
of New York,
Age
Cape
of
Fear,
Innocence.
The Last Temptation of Christ, Raging Bull.
I'll shout out King of Comedy. I watched that last night
I
right after I
saw
watched
that,
this.
and because I was gonna watch it and decided to just pass out instead.
Yeah, the movie is great. It's just it's billed as a comedy, but it's not funny at all.
Meanwhile, Bringing Out the Dead seemed like it was going to be horrifically depressing, and it's actually really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just weird that we didn't get any of the Scorsese regulars. Like, there was no De Niro in this, and I feel like they could have slotted him in somewhere.
Yeah, he would have been good as like the ambulance captain. I think that would have been a
Yeah.
solid like that the little baby dog bark out of De Niro would have been really good.
I don't know that he could have pulled that off. I actually don't know if I included the chief in housekeeping, but that was consistently one of my favorite bits in the entire fucking film.
Yeah, it's really good.
Also, this is the last Scorsese
Hey, we got to talk about that guy. He was on Sopranos.
Yeah.
Oh shit, he was.
This is also the last film he made before his current obsession with Leonardo DiCaprio. Because right after this was Gangs of New York, Aviator, The Departed, Shutter Island, Wolf of Wall Street. Then we got 2 without Leonardo DiCaprio, Silence and the Irishman, and then we're back to DiCaprio, baby, with Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh man, Silence is such a weird fucking sad movie.
I was looking into it because I'm like, this never came across my radar.
It's solid.
I'm gonna watch
it's beautiful. It's just like it's not what I was expecting out of a Scorsese film. It's about persecution against Christians in Japan, of all things.
Huh.
Sounds fair to me.
And I mean, I like The Irishman if it wasn't fucking 14 hours long.
I love it because
I kind of love it because I have day-long movies that I'll throw on, and like that's all I do for a day. If I decide I'm gonna watch Barry Lyndon or like Amadeus, I just throw those on, and that's pretty much my entire day set. Irishman is definitely one of those.
Yeah.
Somebody reminded me the other day, I don't know why this popped into my head, about one of my favorite Simpsons jokes, where he was they're going to Japan, and Homer's like,
I know what you're talking about already.
I don't think I'll like Japan. And Marge is like, come on, you liked Rashomon. And he's like, that's not how I remember.
That's not how I remember.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So
I did not get that joke as a child, but I love it now.
No, I did not either. But
Rashomon, the number of jokes in The Simpsons that went over my head as a kid was so intense that at one point there's this great book that explained every single joke from every single episode, and it was my favorite book to read. And then I later found they released 2 more, and as an adult, I found them all in a box set and purchased them.
Nice.
I'm about to say, you still own them? Because I would like to look at those.
I do. I bought the box set of those books last year, and I don't know that they're in print anymore.
Ooh, so fancy.
Yeah, I'll show you next time you're over. So, moving on from a director that everybody would know, we have writers. So Bringing Out the Dead was based on a book written by Joe Connolly, who does get a writing credit in this film, but the screenplay was done by Paul Schrader.
You know him, you love him. Dog Eat Dog.
I'm about to say, you know him from this podcast.
Fucking Taxi Driver.
Anybody who says Dog Eat Dog is not good can immediately lick my taint, because that movie is fucking great.
Great and fucking crazy. I don't think enough people have seen it. Dog Eat Dog deserves a wider audience just to be traumatized by it. Same for First Reformed, for that matter.
Same for this movie. I cannot understand why this is so criminally underrated and underseen.
Wild. Absolutely wild. And then more recently, Schrader did The Card Counter. Fairly certain that was with Oscar Isaac, I believe.
The Card Counter, yeah.
Yep. I like that movie too.
Yeah, Schrader's done a lot of good stuff. I usually shout out Mishima, Life in 4 Parts, but I've talked about that enough on this podcast.
So moving on to cast from here, starting as always, we have Nick Cage as Frank Pierce. You know him. That's why we're here. Next up, we have Patricia Arquette as Mary Burke. Patricia Arquette was in A bunch of things. True Romance, Stigmata, shouting this one out because of my fiance. Holes, Little Nicky, Ed Wood. She was the medium in the show Medium. And she was also in Boardwalk Empire. I think the last 2 seasons.
I'm very happy you shouted out Little Nicky.
I'll shout out Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, because she plays the deaf mute girl. But that also springboards into her being in a music video for Dawkins' Dream Warriors, where she plays the same character.
And Rich, I had to throw Little Nicky on there because Little Nicky is in a collection of films with soundtracks that are go way harder than they have any right going, and the Little Nicky soundtrack is that. Check it out.
Yeah. Also, she was in Lost Highway, my favorite David Lynch.
There you go. So next up we have John Goodman as Larry, who is in Barton Fink, 10 Cloverfield Lane, Argo, Red State, Flight, Roseanne, and The Righteous Gemstones.
I was going to say, for anybody, this is like the first episode you're listening to. We do John Goodman on Raising Arizona, so just go listen to that episode next.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot. I usually try and throw in there other Nick Cage joints, but I like a lot of John Goodman's shit, specifically because of John Goodman. So I got distracted by throwing in things like Cloverfield Lane and Red State, which is one of my favorite performances of his.
Well, on my list, the next 3 are all alumnuses between John Goodman, Ving Rhames, go listen to the Kiss of Death episodes, and the man, the myth, the legend, Tom Sizemore, the man who single-handedly carried a shark attack movie that was still awful, but he made it less awful for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So go listen to the USS Indianapolis episodes.
And I'll just mention that John Goodman was in a little movie called Chud that I love deeply, in a cameo as a cop in a diner.
There you go.
I don't even think he has a single spoken line of dialogue.
He's just there.
He is just there. It's like his 5th or 6th. Wait, let me check. 7th appearance in a movie.
Huh.
I had to throw Red State. Have you guys seen Red State?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I have
it's a Kevin Smith joint, right?
Yeah.
But I cannot get out of my head, like, after the Waco style events go down and John Goodman is at a hearing for his part in it, and the guys going over it, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not writing you up for anything. And he's like, why? And he's like, can I speak honestly? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, because fuck those people. That's why. And I will never forget that scene in that film. Anyway, moving on, we have Ving Rhames as Marcus. Ving Rhames, again, also in a couple of small films like Pulp Fiction, almost all of the Mission Impossible movies. The Goods, Live Hard, Sell Hard. I like throwing that in there whenever I see it.
You love throwing that in there.
I also know it annoys you a little bit, Rich. So that now you know every time I run across an actor who's in that film is getting mentioned. He was in the 2004 Kiss of Death and Dawn of the Dead.
I was about to say that's the wrong year.
2004 Dawn of the Dead film, and of course he was in Kiss of Death, which we reviewed really early on.
And of course, let's not forget that he's in a future Cage movie as well.
That's what I was going to bring up. Can't forget Con Air.
I was about to say, like, I feel like I just saw the light exit Josh's eyes when he realized he forgot Con Air.
No, I purposely don't call out the Holy Trinity because it makes me sad because I don't know when they're going to come up in the rotation, and I desperately want to watch Con Air. So
yeah, Con Air is so good.
Next up, we have Tom Sizemore as Tom Walls, who's in Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, Red Planet, The Relic, Twin Peaks, USS Indianapolis Men of Courage, and of course, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. As a guy,
he's really funny in Twin Peaks. I will say that.
Then we have Mark Anthony as Noel.
Yes, Mark Anthony.
Yeah. On top of being a musician of some sort, I've been told. He's been in a number of films, including Man on Fire, Runaway Bride, The Mask of Zorro, Hackers, Carlito's Way, Yeah,
but a very, very small musical career. It's not like he's sold like 70 million albums in Latin America.
Yeah, teeny tiny.
It's not.
Did you mention Big Night? I got to talk about Big Night.
Talk about Big Night.
Big Night is so fucking good. It's just an Italian restaurant movie. That's all it is. It's just
so there's a lot of hand motions.
There's so much hand motion, but it's about like these dudes making like the most overly complicated Italian dish ever made. It's
hold up.
It sounds like the loudest film ever made.
Hold on. So starring Stanley Tucci, Tony Schlaub, or whatever the
Shalhoub.
I don't know how to...
Yo, Art
there's so many
cast that's really into Tony Shalhoub.
Liev Schreiber is here. Fucking Isabella Rossellini is here.
Allison Janney is here. Like,
it's really good. It's just about like this rivalry between two Italian restaurants, and they're trying to one up each other the whole time.
And burn the other one's restaurant to the ground, I'm assuming?
I can't remember, but that might happen. I might be thinking of a different restaurant rivalry movie, but yeah, probably.
You're just thinking of the restaurant burning scene in Goodfellas, I think.
I just realized that Martin Scorsese and David Lynch were married to the same person.
Yeah, Isabella Rossellini.
Yeah, because she's also in that movie.
The not original at the same time. Hollywood Power polycule?
They were not a polycule.
I think each of them were married to her for a total of 3 years.
Wait. Now I need to know what movies they came out with, what creative things they produced during those separate marriages.
Ah, shit.
Hang on. I was just looking at this.
Okay, you got it pulled up?
Yeah, let me just go back to it.
So while you're doing that, I'm gonna keep running through housekeeping because we got.
I have it right here. I have it right here.
Go for it.
She was married to Scorsese from 79 to 82, prime Scorsese years.
Those are some good Scorsese years. That is when like King of Comedy and fucking Taxi Driver came out.
Then she was with David Lynch 2 separate times, 1986 to 1987, then 1990 to 1991.
So I think that might be in the throes of Twin Peaks for the second one.
I also think that is a Wild at Heart right there too.
Yeah, that's a Wild at Heart.
That's a Wild at Heart, baby.
Weird.
All right.
We need to sorry, we can keep going. Yeah, sorry. I keep going on these side quests.
No. It's fine. So next up we have Mary Beth Hurt as Nurse Constance, who was in Lady in the Water, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Red Dragon, The Family Man, another Nick Cage joint, and Affliction.
And The Age of Innocence, another Martin Scorsese film.
There you go.
And is really good in this role too. Like very minor. Very minor, funny. But like she really kills the little time that she has.
Yeah.
Then we have Cliff Curtis as Cy Coates, who was in Training Day, Sunshine, Risen, The Dark Horse, Meg 2, The Trench.
I can't fucking wait for Meg 2.
I can't.
I haven't seen it yet.
It looks so fucking good. Jason Statham on a jet ski with a samurai sword fighting a shark? Sign me up.
He was also in Dr. Sleep, The Fountain, and Blow. He's been around for a while.
He was in Blow.
He doesn't look like he's aged a fucking day. Just to throw that out there. Next up, we have Nestor Serrano as Dr. Hazmat, who was in Bad Boys, Day After Tomorrow.
That's a great name.
Love, Death, and Robots, Lethal Weapon 2, The Money Pit. Then we have Ada Turturro as Nurse Krupp, who was in The Sopranos. This is Janice. But she was also in Deep Blue Sea, one of my favorite shark-based films, and Mickey Blue Eyes, which is just a parody of Italians.
Yeah, it is. It's a parody of Italians by the British, so you know they get everything wrong, but it's still funny.
They do. It's just like, what if we surrounded Hugh Grant with Italians? How would that play? And then last up, I actually went back. All right, so this is my only honorable mention. I actually went back and added him in after I saw him. Michael Kenneth Williams plays drug dealer in this film. He was in The Wire, Boardwalk Empire, 12 Years a Slave, Lovecraft Country. You know him, you love him. You come at the king, you best not miss.
I'll throw out a couple honorable mentions as well. Sonia Shawn as Kanita, which was Kai Coates' girlfriend. She played Kima on The Wire, just another Wire reference. And Judy Reyes, who ironically played an ICU nurse. You know her as Carla from Scrubs.
All right, I got two because this.
I know you
this
got two that I did not.
So fucking packed. Arthur J. Mascarella, who was also in The Sopranos as Carlo Gervasi. He's in that show Billions.
Mm-hmm.
That show comes up more often than I'd like to
weirdly
admit.
large amount of times. Yeah, strangely enough. And that's about it for stuff that I recognize him from. I mean, he's in like one episode of the X-Files, and
He was in The Cooler.
I love The Cooler.
Of course you love The Cooler, Rich. It's a gambling movie.
Yeah.
And it has William H. Macy in it. And it's a solid fucking film.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And look, I know it's problematic to say this, but I kind of like Alec Baldwin and stuff.
Yeah, he's usually pretty good. He was a great fucking Shadow. Like, he's got that going for him at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can cancel me if you want. I actually like that would be a relief for me, actually.
To be canceled.
Yeah, I would love to be canceled.
Wait, are we canceling
the sweet
Baldwin
release
because
of cancellation?
He shot somebody on
I'm assuming because he shot somebody.
Okay.
No,
that's a fair one.
I think he had some pretty like fucked up shit that he said at some point that was recorded on like a voicemail from what I remember.
Are you sure you're not thinking of David Hasselhoff?
I'm pretty sure that has happened to more than one dude.
Yeah.
I'm about to say, are you sure you're not thinking of Chevy Chase?
Oh, no, I'm generally not thinking of Chevy Chase. All right, and my last one is Afermo Omelami. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I don't know the pronunciation, but he's the guy who plays Gris. He was the drill sergeant in Forrest Gump. And he's also in the movie The Firm, which I like quite a bit with Tom Cruise.
All right, so I have two more then I was going to leave open. And they're just going to be the voices of the dispatcher.
Oh, shit, yeah, we didn't mention those.
So the voice of the male dispatcher was one, Martin Scorsese, who apparently worked as a paramedic for a few years, if I read the backstory correct to this movie.
I'm not sure about that. I know he had like some heavy dealings with the New York like medical system because of his parents, and that's what I was getting from reading up on it, that he was very well versed in this shit just because of how often.
Here's actually the direct quote. I'm sorry. I have 10 years of ambulances. My parents in and out of hospitals, calls in the middle of the night. I was exercising all of that. City paramedics are heroes, blah, blah, blah. So he said he has 10 years of ambulance experience. So I guess
I think that's riding in ambulances.
Yeah,
with his
it's dealing with ambulances because his parents were ill.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And do our last shout out.
Yeah, do the last one.
We all know it.
Queen Latifah, baby.
Queen Latifah, baby.
Yeah, she plays love. We love love.
We do love love. And just one last thing I'll say before we go into the actual movie, which the idea of contacting Nick Cage came from Brian De Palma, apparently told Scorsese to cast him because he was so good in Snake Eyes.
De Palma's a real one for that. I do have a single critique of Cage's performance in this. But one final word on housekeeping before we move on to the plot. Listen to some fucking ads because we went long in housekeeping.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Those were ads.
I'm about to say, look, when there's this many fucking people in a movie who matter.
Yeah, there's such a high density. It's really like a fucking
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the characterization on that one, Rich.
Well, like that we have had some cast lists that are very long, but it's like it's been Nick Cage and 26 people named Joe. Like
yeah.
Or like Johnny Roast Beef.
Johnny Roast Beef.
All right. So diving into the plot of the film. And so I'll bring it up right off the bat. I love Nick Cage, obviously, as an actor and all of his efforts in this. But it stood out to me how much Scorsese loves voiceover narration from the main characters. And it's just because of Nick Cage's voiceover narration. I don't know why it stood out so hard to me in this film.
I think it's pretty good generally.
I don't think it's bad. It just was way more noticeable to me in this film than other Scorsese films. I don't know what that is. Probably a personal failing. But yeah, it struck me right off the bat. Like in my notes, I'm like, God damn, Scorsese loves this shit. I don't know why
Yeah, he
this hasn't
does.
stood out in other films to me.
Oh man, that's like one of the defining features of a lot of Scorsese's stuff. Like fucking Casino is rife with that. Wolf of Wall Street is almost nothing but that.
Goodfellas start with the all my life I wanted to be a gangster.
Classic.
Yeah.
Very, very classic. But we open with an upbeat jazzy tune as we get flashes of Frank.
That is not an upbeat tune. That is a sad ass blues song by Van Morrison about tuberculosis.
It's got a high tempo. That's
Yeah, sure.
I have a very simple brain, Ryan.
Definitely a song about not wanting to be in the same room as your dying lover because she has tuberculosis and you don't want to get tuberculosis.
I do not catch that from the hi-hats and the wind instruments.
It's also got the recurring line of I need a drink of water, which is paralleled in Noah's character throughout the film. A lot of the music, Noel's character. A lot of the music in this, you can draw direct parallels to action within the film itself, which is something I always appreciate.
Yeah. But we get flashes of Frank driving an ambulance under flashing streetlights, and we get our voiceover of Frank telling us he's on his way to his first call of the night, a gunshot wound, and he reminisces a bit about how things have been rough lately. He hasn't saved anyone in some time. He is riding with his partner, Larry, played by John Goodman, and they get to the apartment building, walk up and head to the top floor. Now, so this is odd because in my maybe I got something wrong, or maybe they were flashing past this point, but the first call of the night wasn't a gunshot. It was a heart attack.
It was the cardiac, yeah.
Huh. Maybe I wrote that down wrong.
Yeah, because that's where Mr. Burke comes in.
100%, right? So they get to the apartment building, and as they're walking up the steps, like a woman can be heard like wailing and sobbing as they ascend the stairs, which I thought was kind of haunting.
A lot of haunting in this movie.
Yeah. Well, that was a good way to set the fucking tone for it, right? So there is like the whole family is in the apartment. There's the wife, Mary, her brother, and I can't remember if there's a couple more people.
There are a couple more people. Well. I'm assuming they're either like aunts or the grandmother, because there's two other older women that are there.
Yeah,
right. I assumed it was the mother and
then one of the sisters.
I don't know. It seemed like there was a big family living in that little apartment.
Yeah. The older gentleman, Mr. Burke, appears to have had a heart attack. Frank and Larry initiate life-saving measures. They intubate him, and they start defibrillating him. Despite their efforts, the man flatlines, and Larry goes off to secure time of death on the phone from a doctor. Frank, in the meantime, apologizes to Mary, played by Patricia Arquette, after failing to resuscitate the old man. But Frank suggests she play music that the guy liked. It might help. So, of course, they put on Sinatra.
As you do for an older Italian man.
And as soon as they do, like an older Italian, he immediately gets a pulse back.
Well, he heard that sweet, sweet sounds of Paramus, New Jersey.
Now that they have a pulse on this man, they bring him downstairs, put him in the ambulance. Mary tries to ride with them, but Frank tells her to ride with her family since they need her more. They drive to the hospital, and this is where I noticed, like, Nick Cage looks more haggard in this film than any other film. Every other film that tries to make Cage look haggard is just trying to copy what they did in this film and failing miserably.
Wishes they could be this film.
I think it's because we haven't seen Leaving Las Vegas yet, because I remember him being pretty fucked up in that one. It might be like the same plateau, though.
We'll have to see. Maybe this movie got its cue from Leaving Las Vegas.
Leaving Las Vegas. It could be, because Scorsese's a movie watcher. Like, he'll watch everything that you're in before casting you and be like, I like that he does that. I'm going to make him do that.
Wait, hold on. Let's take a look and see.
Leaving Las Vegas was before this.
No.
I thought you were checking the timeline.
No, I know. I knew it was before this, but I'm like, what's the weirdest thing that he would have watched and been like, yeah, this is the guy that I want? The Boy in Blue. I think that's the one that got him there.
Maybe, yeah.
No, Nick Cage is not shirtless at any point in this film, so he definitely didn't watch The Boy in Blue.
He absolutely is. When he's drinking in his apartment looking over the New York skyline, he's definitely shirtless.
Oh, shit, you're right. But
I've seen this movie so many fucking times.
There's no pan up from his
into my
abs
retinas.
in this one, okay?
No, it definitely isn't a glamour shot, I'll tell you that much.
Listen,
yeah, no, there's saying... no horny shots of Cage in this.
No.
Oh, so he definitely never saw Zandali.
Probably not. I think he'd like it, though.
I think Scorsese would love Zandali.
Yeah. It'll be like that scene from the Clerks cartoon where fucking Randall's talking to Judge Reinhold, and he's like, and may I say, Honorable Judge Reinhold, I've seen all of your movies, including Zandalay.
So they arrive at the hospital, which is chaotic. The depiction of the hospital is one of my favorite bits in the film. Not my really absolute good. Favorite, but it's done incredibly well. It's they get waved through. Everybody's complaining. The staff is complaining. Everybody in the waiting room is complaining. The security guard's complaining.
It's a complete cacophony of human misery.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the nurse that waves him through is talking to a guy who's complaining that he took too much cocaine, and she's like, well, that's on you, buddy. Like you wasted our time here.
This woman is she drops some of the best lines in this movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
One of my favorite lines that comes later is the next time you stop breathing, try to do it in another state.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, it's funny because it makes you think that nurses have a job description, which is just patient heckler, because that's all she does in this job.
Yeah. Well, for the most part, she's got a soft spot for Mr. O.
She does.
That's the only character she's nice to. Yeah. Everybody else, she's like, you're such a fucking fuck up.
Outside of that, though, she's doing the crowd work of like Stavros.
Oh yeah, yep, absolutely. So Frank manages to get them to agree to take the patient. The Dr. Hazmat.
Great name. So good.
That is his actual character name.
I know, and it's amazing. Like, a lot of times I feel like Scorsese doesn't do that with characters, but when he does, it's fucking awesome.
So the doctor tells Frank how packed the ER is. He mentions specifically a rash of issues with a drug called Red Death, which is a mix of heroin and, quote, I don't fucking know. It's probably the drug from Running with the Devil.
Yeah, I think that's what
Fishburne invents.
But no, but what he actually says is, because I've watched this movie 4 times in the last 48 hours.
Fuck yeah.
Is he says it's heroin, and I don't know, some amino acids or some shit.
Some amino
It's so good. Why would you put amino acids in heroin? You know what? I don't know. I don't know. It's 1999. The war on drugs is full on.
Yeah, but drugs have not won yet.
You know what the fuck I learned from this is that ambulances have been carrying Narcan since 1999.
At least, yeah.
And we just started handing that shit out to people so they can stop their friends and family from dying like last year, the year before. Yeah. That's fucking crazy, man. That's crazy.
I have some Narcan around here somewhere.
Yeah. It's important.
That's not for me. It's for if I'm just walking down the street.
No, that's exactly how I meant it. I didn't even think for a second the alternative option there. I put a lot of people I liked in the ground that Narcan would have saved. So anyway, neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the midst of this, Frank's patient flatlines again. And so the hospital staff goes to work on him. Walking out of the ER, we get that nurse heckling another patient, which was just phenomenal. And we also get introduced to Noel. It's a patient played by Mark Anthony who is begging everybody for water, but he's restrained to a gurney. He does manage to break out because just another patient is so tired of his shit and undoes his restraints. And so he immediately causes a ruckus and gets thrown out of the hospital by Gris. And outside of the hospital, Mary and Frank are talking. Turns out that Mary and Noel know each other. They grew up on the same street. Mary gives Noel water, despite Frank's relatively gentle protests against
Yeah,
this.
because the doctor said that they had performed something on him, and he had drank so much water that he was taking on water in his kidneys, which was something he had never seen before.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I guess Red
drinking
Death
more water could have killed him.
Yeah, I guess Red Death just makes you absurdly thirsty or something.
Yeah. Oh, so it's like Molly.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess. Molly with more heroin.
Yeah.
So just Molly now, basically.
So,
yeah, like I said, Molly.
Yeah.
Nola takes off down the street in his hospital gown, and Mary goes back in to be with her family. And Larry and Frank get back on the road. And Larry is on a mission. And that mission is to get Chinese food. But Frank is convinced that as soon as they get their food order, they're going to get a call. But they end up getting caught in traffic anyway. And they see several sex workers, including one who is pregnant. And Frank sees her turn into someone else, like he sort of hallucinates there. And we learn more about this character as the movie progresses. But he hits the lights and siren to clear the traffic so they can get moving. Larry realizes that he had Chinese food the previous day, and so he can't get it now. But he solves this dilemma by suggesting they get chicken and fries, fried chicken and fries.
Yeah, which you can just get at a Chinese place. So
yeah.
This is true. Also,
they don't need to change course. And I love fried chicken from a Chinese place.
Me too. That's exactly what I was about to say.
It's so fucking good. The only better like Asian restaurant fried chicken is Korean.
Huh.
You get I can see that being good.
There's a Korean fried chicken place. I won't dox us now that we're actually in the recording proper, but it's near a Goodwill. If that helps you, and that place fucking rolls.
Yes, it does.
Text me it because I got to go there tomorrow.
Oh, dude,
it's like right across the street. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that chicken is so fucking good, and it's like next to a Korean restaurant that does regular like traditional Korean food, and then there's just the fried chicken place.
Yes, it's close to where we're at in Manhattan, Kansas.
Correct. Yeah, in Paris, Texas.
There you go.
Yes.
So
in San Diego, Maryland.
So they get their food, and Frank gives us some more voiceover explaining the ghost he keeps seeing is a homeless girl named Rose, who was 18 when he failed to resuscitate her on a call. So Frank is a broken man, haunted past. Solid setup for a protagonist.
Is he haunted by ads?
He is now.
Looking at my clock. Yes, he is.
This is the ads always haunt the house at this hour. So there you go. We who are we to stand between vengeful spirits and their intended marks? Here's some ads.
Ooh, God, gamble at Chumba Casino. Ooh.
See, for that ad break, I was bopping back and forth to the Monster Mash.
I'm not gonna lie, that joke just sent me on a spiral. It's like if we keep going down the path that we're going, because ghosts are all old and shit, right? So when we get to a certain point, there probably is gonna be ghosts that are just still trying to sell you whatever shit they did for 40 hours a fucking week for the majority of their life, and then died tragically. Like, let me tell you about purple mattresses, kid.
Oh man,
we'll sleep through any ghost
attack. I was about to say, I can't wait to haunt somebody to buy it to sell them a new mattress.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That would make for very boring ghost movies, though.
Yeah, like,
all right, fucking fine. I bought a Dyson. The ghost is like, all right, on to the next one.
You need me to design your living room and bedroom. Ooh.
I don't know. Some ghost stories that are intentionally boring are pretty fucking good. That movie Ghost Story, where the woman eats a pie for 10 fucking minutes, is actually pretty fucking good.
What about the anime Ghost Stories?
Oh, you mean the one with the really busted fucking dub? Where they were like, we are not going to translate this literally. We are just
the funniest fucking dub?
The funniest fucking dub of all time. Yes, absolutely.
I love Ghost
Stories.
That
shit is hilarious.
I still have the DVDs from like 2003.
Oh shit. Did you know that that's not based on a manga or anything? It's actually based on a series of like children's ghost books, kind of like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah.
And there was a series of live action movies before the anime came out that are supposed to fuck ass.
I did know that, and I remember I was at an anime convention, and we went to a screening. At the time, I think it was like the Full Metal Alchemist movie, and it hadn't come out yet, so they had like a highly guarded DVD that they had to get into the room so nobody would steal it. They couldn't get it into the room in time, so they're like, we're rescheduling this to tonight. But if you want to stay, here's Ghost Stories. And I watched it, and I'm like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And immediately bought the entire series.
Smart. Which is fair.
Yeah.
And correct to do.
But it's on DVD, which I don't have a DVD player because it's a dead technology.
Oh, tell that to like half of my fucking wall over there.
you listen here, wall, you're a dead technology.
Wait, you're telling me you don't have like a PS4 or an Xbox 360 or anything like that?
Nah, so when I moved, I sold all of that to
that'll do it.
Well, when I
could give you one of my spares to borrow so you can watch your fucking DVDs.
When I moved the first time to New York, I sold like everything. I sold like my Super Nintendo collection for like thousands of dollars. Because I had 3 copies of Mega Man X3.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it, man. Jesus.
Tell me you didn't have a copy of Super Mario RPG.
I actually have his copy of Super Mario RPG.
Yeah, I'm about to say Ryan actually has had my copy of that for about 10 years. So, which I'm totally fine with.
Gotta keep it in the family.
Yeah.
As long
Ryan
as
actually
it's in the
has
family.
it.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I have it. I gotta replace the battery because it won't save no more.
Oh, that's easy enough.
That is an easy fix, yeah.
I was about to say, if you want to run it by here, I'll do it, but I'm sure you know how to do it.
I know how to do it. I just got to order the batteries off of Spamazon.
Well, dude, the number of times I've had to stop myself from buying a physical copy of that fucking game because of the absurd price tag on it.
How much is it right now?
Yeah.
Did I just grind this podcast?
Yeah. I think we got to get back to talking about Nick Cage being depressing.
No, I think we're all going to look up Super Mario RPG.
Yeah, I'm already on it. It's like $100 cart.
Okay.
Okay. You can get the used ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing them for anywhere from 100 to 175. Like,
is Final Fantasy 2 on Super Nintendo going for? Oh, really? Only $30? That's kind of surprising. I thought that would have been a little bit more than Super Mario.
You can get the Japanese Super Mario RPG for like $20 though.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad, guys. I was looking at unopened copies.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
I mean, even the unopened copy is still like $100, $100.
No.
Like 300 is what I'm seeing on like the low end. Oh no, I'm just seeing complete in box actually. Yeah,
unopened. I'm looking at one that's $12,000.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, no, oh that's unopened because I can see complete in box for 500.
Unopened 9.2 rating. That's 12 grand, baby.
Oh, 9.2. That means they sent it into that bullshit CGC like for video games.
What a good fucking scam.
It's such a good
scam.
Especially since it was fucking started by somebody who like has a stake in heritage auctions.
Yeah, what a good scam.
It's such a good scam.
In the day and age of the worst scams, I appreciate a solid one. A real like modern day PT Barnum scam. I'm about, you know what I mean? Anyway. So Frank and Larry, they end up back on the road, and they get a call for a frequent flyer named Mr. O, which is hilarious, because when they show it's a homeless guy who gets drunk, falls down, hurts himself, constantly in and out of the ER. But I realize why they called him Mr. O when they go and they pull him off the sidewalk, and he's just like, oh, it's like, oh shit, okay.
No, and one of the better parts of that too was the introduction that Martin Scorsese does over the radio. He's like, you know him, you love him. It's Mr. O.
It calls him like the Prince of Stink, the Emperor of Odor.
Yes. But he gives him this big grand like introduction, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And then once they get him onto the ambulance, Larry and Frank are both like fully leaned out of the windows of the ambulance because of the smell.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. They get him to the hospital and bring him in, and the heckling nurse, this is the person she is nicest to in the entirety of the film.
The only person she's nice to at all.
True. But also, I did think this was funny because they're like, yeah, we are overbooked. He cannot come in. He has to wait Put him in like the furthest corner of the waiting room. And Gris is like, absolutely the fuck not. So they have to bring him outside to fucking wait his turn.
I think Griss's line verbatim is Gris cannot abide the funk tonight.
Yes, that is exactly what he says.
The third person references, very solid.
And also, the nurse treats this man as if he's like a 17-year-old dog. Like, oh no, you just need a bath and some food, don't you? Don't you, boy?
Yeah.
Which is actually what she actually says. Like, no, he just needs to eat and get a bath, and we can get him on his way. And someone's like, this isn't a homeless shelter.
Yeah. So outside, Frank sees Mary in the parking lot, and they both light up a cigarette. Mary actually tells Frank at this point that she was kind of estranged from her father, but this happening changes her perspective. So she heads back inside the hospital as Larry and Frank get back in the ambulance. We get more voiceover from Frank thinking back on Rose. And then this starts to manifest into what's probably a fucking panic attack, because he asks Larry to take him to the hospital because he doesn't feel well. And Larry's like, you're fucking fine. I did have a laugh here because, like, again, this is was made in 1999, but they're like smoking in an ambulance. I don't think you could do that even then.
No, I'm very sure you couldn't do that then.
So Larry finds a spot near one of the docks and just goes to take a nap in the ambulance while they're parked. Frank is staying up, because he's super haunted by his past, and they get a call for a possible suicide. Frank wakes up Larry in the funniest fashion. He just leans over and lays on the horn. They go to race off, but Larry almost runs them down the end of the pier. So they have to turn around.
Yeah, they're like, no, turn around, the water.
So they show up, and it's Noel, who fled the hospital earlier that evening, and he's cut himself with a broken bottle and is threatening to kill himself. There is also a scene where Noel does his fucking head shake, which I feel was the inspiration for that Brad Pitt scene in Fight Club, because blood goes fucking
everywhere.
Yeah.
And John Goodman even says, oh, he gotcha.
Yeah. So, Frank tries to talk Noel down, but Noel goes to take off. Frank manages to talk Noel into going to the hospital only by promising that the hospital will assist in his suicide. And he's like, well, how will they kill me? It's like, oh, they got a bunch of options. They've got like pills and
pills,
like
gas
scalpels.
injection.
Yeah, pills, gas injection. He's like, I want to go with pills. And he's like, all right,
definitely
let's go.
pills.
Yeah.
And like, as they're having this conversation, he is laid down in the middle of a fucking intersection, and Nick Cage is trying to like get him to not get pancaked.
Yeah.
So at this point, they've called for backup with the Noel incident, and Sizemore's character, also named Tom, shows up. Turns out he was Frank's former partner, and Tom hates Noel.
Well, he mistakes him for a completely different guy, is what I got out of that first interaction, because he doesn't recognize him the second time as the same dude.
I thought he was being racist. Like, I thought he was calling him
absolutely
Pedro
was,
because he was just like, another one of them.
Well, he confuses him with a guy and proceeds to tell the following story, which I put in quotes. He's like, this asshole is holding two priests, not one priest, two priests hostage with a screwdriver.
Sounds like a cool guy to me.
Sizemore gets into the back of the ambulance and starts beating the shit out of Noel, despite Frank trying to stop him. He leaves only after a gunshot call comes in, and the ambulances take off again. So they show up at the scene of the shooting, and this is where we get Michael Kenneth Williams, who is a shot drug dealer, along with, I think, another drug dealer who was shot at the scene as well. Frank's ambulance takes Michael Kenneth Williams. It looks like this was part of a drug turf war over that Red Death shit that they've been selling. And there is a hilarious bit where Frank is promising to save the drug dealer. He's like, no, we're going to take you to the hospital. You're going to live. And Noel's like, whoa. And he's like, no, we're going to take you to the hospital. You're going to die. He's going to live. And hold his hand. And if you stop holding his hand, I swear to God, we're not going to kill you when we get to the hospital. Solid, dark bit, but it got a chuckle out of me.
The humor is strong in this.
It is. It's really good. Unfortunately, when they arrive at the hospital, the dealer has no pulse, and Noel runs off instead of going inside the hospital. Frank walks in on two other EMTs exchanging war stories. and then excuses himself from that conversation relatively quickly, goes outside and runs into Mary again.
So before we continue, I just want to say, like, Noel was one of my favorite characters because you kind of witness him through like his moments of clarity, and then you're just kind of sitting there wondering, like, when is his clarity going to end?
Yeah.
And the
And
answer
it's
is
always
quickly.
just when he runs off.
Yep.
So it's like, because like I'm watching, I'm just like, he can't kill him at the hospital. How does this resolve? I was like, oh yeah, he's a drug addict, and he is just going to run off when they open the doors back up. And that's exactly what happened. And it's dark, but it was humorous.
Yeah, or they get him to the hospital and put him in 4-point restraints and save his life. That's what they do.
Yeah, that's the other option.
When you're in that situation. Just as a heads up.
Yeah.
72-hour holds. Not fun. So Frank runs into Mary again, and Mary's mother comes out at this point and swears that the man they let her in to see wasn't her husband. She's like, you think I'd know my husband. They showed me some other guy. And so Frank's like, you should take your mom home. And Mary's like, somebody's got to stay here. So Frank offers to drive the mother home in their ambulance. They do that. And then Larry drops Frank off at the end of their shift. And so back at home, Frank is doing some narration again. And he talks about how great it is to save a life. The flip side of the coin is failing to save a life. Is a game of spreading out the blame thin enough that it doesn't coat all the participants in guilt, basically, which I thought was a really solid bit of exposition here. A lot of the prose in the narration is well done. It's
very flowery, very florid purple prose.
It is, without coming across as pretentious or out of the range of the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a beautiful little detail later in the movie where we see his apartment and it pans across a series of books that are on his mantle. And you can kind of get the idea of where he's getting this. He's got like a book of Byron Shelley's poetry and prose. He's got a copy of 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And it's like that kind of narration that he's doing.
Solid fucking tie-in. I missed that entirely.
Yeah, I snapped a picture of it because I knew I'd wanted to talk about it. And then like at the end, it's like the DSM and like that's it.
That is an amazing bit. Very solid set work there. So the day clicks over. That was just a Thursday. And now we're into Friday, the next day, and Frank is heading into work. And I would like to open our next episode on Frank getting into work because this is my favorite bit in the film. Absolutely,
it's a good recurring bit.
Yeah. It's my favorite joke that they do in the movie. It's fucking hilarious. And it's also the thing that started getting me thinking about what sort of allegorical connections they're making to different kinds of stories is because of the interactions with the chief. 100%, because it's surreal to the point of absurdity.
It's so good.
Yeah, we will pick up on that solid high note to start with next episode. In the meantime, you can go ahead and give us a follow on social media. You can find us on X at cagefight_pod. We're Xing it up, and
we're gonna give it to you.
Re-Xing. And I don't know. I'm so fucking tired of that place.
I hate that it now says like so and so has reposted your post. Like
terrible.
Just the word post doesn't need to be there that often.
If it wasn't such a go-to move for crazy neo-Nazis, they'd be like, we got to make our own Twitter with blackjack and hookers. Something better than what we're stuck with.
It already exists. It's called Truth Social.
That's a sentence with words.
It was a sentence.
I mean, they're all a bunch of libertarians. I'm sure that there's blackjacks and hookers there.
Those aren't the kind of hookers you want to be near.
You can't I won't go back to Facebook with all the racist uncles. Also,
the racist uncles are everywhere. If you're a racist uncle, Facebook. Check us out on Facebook, because now we're getting my new favorite thing, which is people trying to scam me out of money.
It's crazy. We must have hit enough followers because now we're getting those scam messages where it's like, I bought this thing from your store. If you don't click this link, I'm going to take down your whole store. And you're like, lady, we don't have a store. This is just our repository collection of racist uncles.
or like, hey, I'm looking for this item here. I need 3,000 of them. Can you supply it? And the item is like a link to click.
Yeah. And they're pulling that scam on the wrong people. We're assembling a team of adults that you know that you won't allow to babysit your children. They have the time, but you do not trust their abilities.
But also, if you want to actually just, give us money, which why would you want to do that? We're just going to waste it on blackjack and hookers.
Maybe we'll open a store with it.
A Nick Cage store. Patreon.com/Nick Cage Fight. $1 a month gets you every episode without ads. $10 a month gets you, because we've been doing this thing recently where we're being responsible adults and running 2 weeks ahead. Like the day that we record, you just get a completely uncut version just sitting there for you, 3 hours long. Well, that's not 3 hours long. I do cut it in half for your convenience.
Plus all the behind the scenes stuff where we just talk about the same
the same stuff that's here.
Yeah.
We do our preambles and our personal rundowns, how we actually feel before we polish it up for, our non-paying listeners.
Yeah, it's slightly more raw. It's got the foreskin on.
Yep, absolutely.
It's got a weird curve.
Yeah, the little English to it.
We call it sawed-off podcasting. But yeah, check those things out while you're waiting for the next episode to drop. As always, thanks for listening, and we appreciate you.